Let me now talk about Logrea Dance Academy. That's a customer from New York. It's a company that started back in 1986 and provides school ballet, dance, even modern dance courses. It's quite respected dance school in the New York area, but it has also a great story behind it. Back in 1986, it was founded by Jean and Beth Logrea from Austria, who came to New York. They had a business in Vienna, quite successful one. They were very good dancers, and they got an opportunity in New York to take over a collapsing dance school over there. And they took that opportunity, restarted that school. They became official ballet school of Westchester, and one of the reasons they became quite successful is they didn't just run a school for dancing. They understood dance and art in general as a way to make people's lives better. This is a nice quote that they have on their website, which is part of their mission statement. I'll read it for you. The purpose of an arts education is not to produce more artists, though that it's a byproduct. The purpose of an arts education is to create human beings capable of leading successful and productive lives in a free society. I think that's a great mission statement, and when I read some comments about their school, I discovered that they're doing quite a good job making the world better. So it was very great opportunity to help them with this mission, because we always like to work with customers who make the world better. So what the challenge was that we were facing. Because Logrea Dance Academy is a small organization with just a few people, it's using a FileMaker solution to run their business that is even hosted on a FileMaker Pro on the front desk computer. So they have only maximum 5 users connecting to it, but in most times they use just the computer it's hosted on. The solution was developed and maintained by Daniel Dobkin. It's a local developer running his business under the name Everyman Technologies, and his mission statement or slogan is champagne solutions for every budget. I guess that is similar to what you know from most FileMaker developers. That resonates with the FileMaker purpose and what FileMaker is about. So he developed this solution, and it was fast enough when used locally on that front desk computer, but when users were connecting to it from other computers, they had issues switching between layouts. Sometimes it took up to 40 seconds to switch from layout to layout. To give you an example, on this layout they were showing student details, and they wanted to see the classes for that student. So they clicked the classes button in the navigation, and 40 seconds later they finally saw the different layout. So Daniel turned to us to help him with this, to try to make it faster. And he used another service that we started offering recently, and that's the FileMaker Solution Optimization Service. The way we do optimization is that we take your solution, examine it, identify the bottleneck in it, and optimize that bottleneck. Because usually you don't have to optimize all the code. You don't have to make everything faster. There is usually one little point in the solution which affects the whole overall performance of the solution. So what we do is we find this small piece of code, and we make that piece significantly faster, and that makes the whole solution faster. And then we give you advice how to move on with the solution, so you don't end there. You can continue making it better, either with our help or on your own. And this is the process that we use for optimizing solutions. We start by exactly measuring what takes how long. Because in our practice, it's very easy to guess wrong what's the right bottleneck. In about 80% cases when we did optimization, we identified, we guessed what script or calculation is the piece that we need to optimize. And in at least 80% cases, we guessed wrong. And we do have a lot of experience, so you would think that we should guess very well. But usually it was a surprise to find out what's the real bottleneck. So the best way to do optimization properly is measure and forget about any emotions. Simply get the data, the raw data, and find out what's taking long. Then when we find the bottleneck, we try to optimize it. And usually we start by identifying a single script in the solution that is the bottleneck. But the single script can be treated as a solution which can be optimized the same way. So in the second iteration, we apply the same process. We measure every single script step in that script, find the one that takes longest time, and try to optimize it. And if that script step involves a calculation, for example, we even apply the same process to that calculation. We split the calculation into small pieces, measure them, and find bottleneck in that calculation. And that's the most efficient way how to optimize a solution, because you really optimize the piece that makes the biggest impact on the whole solution. And we also have a tool for this optimization, which we released a few years ago at DEF CON. We call it 2ForYou FM Bench. You can buy it yourself and do the same process on your own. But we found out that most developers don't have either time or the patience to do the optimization themselves. And many customers were asking whether we could do the optimization for themselves so that they can pay us and we will optimize their solution. So we started offering this service. So you can turn to us, give us your solution, and we will return it faster. So what we did with Daniel Dobkin and his solution, we proposed to implement FM Bench, which we expected to take 1 to 2 days. Then we suggested that he deploys the version with FM Bench implemented and use it for at least 1 week to collect some data. Because we knew that FileMaker Pro is not as good in terms of network communication as a server as FileMaker Server, we also suggested if there is a chance to do it, that he tries to install FileMaker Server and collects some other data from using the solution for a week with the FileMaker Server to see if the right way to optimize the solution for himself would be just use FileMaker Server instead of FileMaker Pro. Then we expected to spend about a week analyzing the collected data, another week optimizing the solution, and then to deploy it and collect benchmark data after deployment of the optimized solution to verify that we were successful. That was our expectation. As you can see, we expected to spend about 1.5 months doing the optimization. The reality was a little bit different. So the first step was finding the bottleneck. So we did implement FM Bench within 1 day. We did collect 1 week worth of data. After that, we discovered that the data is not completely usable because there were some glitches in the implementation, so we had to fix those things and collect another week of data after updating it. And then we identified a single script to be a bottleneck. Although it was a bottleneck that was measurable, there was also part of the solution that didn't even involve using scripts, and that part was also causing some issues. I'll show you what the bottleneck we identified was. It was this script where actually it was related to the navigation system that Daniel used, and it was saving some data. It was saving the history of changes of the layout, so that you can have a back button to navigate you back from where you went. And this script was taking quite a long time to work. So we identified this as bottleneck, sent Daniel our findings, and we were trying to replicate the same issue. So we installed the solution on our network, and the problem we had was first of all, we couldn't reproduce the issue. It wasn't slow on our network. Even if we installed FileMaker Pro as a host and connected to the FileMaker Pro from a different machine, it was still fast. So we were a little bit struggling and needed more data from the field. So we implemented some debug logging into his solution and wanted to collect some data from Daniel's real workplace because we were suspect that maybe network setup is the problem he is having. That although he was supposed to have a gigabit network, we know that even if you have a gigabit network, if you have a wrong setup or a wrong switch, the actual network communication may be the bottleneck. So we were trying to arrange online session with Daniel to capture all this information. But in the meantime, just providing the information that we discovered and identifying the navigation script to be one of the bottlenecks, we inspired Daniel to do his own first optimization. And he looked at the navigation system. The navigation system itself was a system that was developed by another developer as a modular navigation system to be used in any FileMaker solution. It was supporting, I think, 7 different layers of navigation, so you could have tabs and sub-tabs and so on, and complete navigation history. But it was designed primarily for a client-server solution where you use FileMaker Server. So it was never really tested in environment where FileMaker Pro is hosting the solution and another FileMaker Pro is connecting to it. It was easy to implement. It was easy to set up, but at the cost of performance because it was using repeating fields, unstored calculations, related tables, quite like multiple layers of relationships, and it was a good navigation system, but too robust for this small solution. And one of the reasons Daniel used it was because there was no good alternative to it before FileMaker 14. You know that FileMaker 14 added that, I don't know how it's called, the button bar, where you can have multiple buttons that scale with the layout. So because there was FileMaker 14 available, Daniel's first idea was to replace the complicated navigation system with the button bar. So he did it, and it definitely helped with his performance. He also focused on the portal on the left side, which was supposed to, which was there for quickly finding the records or narrowing down the found set. So he also replaced that by using virtual list, which also helped. And the performance in the end of his first optimization was about doubled. So what originally took about 40 seconds was now taking 20 seconds, which was very, very good optimization at the first part. But we didn't stop there because this is something he did on his own, just inspired by our findings. So we continued, and we wanted to make it even better because, you know, when you navigate from layout to layout, even 20 seconds is too long time. So we applied our process again after his optimization, and we identified a new bottleneck and then checked details of that bottleneck script to find the bottleneck within the bottleneck. As I mentioned, we applied the same process to the script itself, and we discovered there is a single set field, I think, yeah, single set field that's causing that problem, that script being too costly in terms of performance. And the reason this set field was slow was because it was setting value in a table about 4 or 5 relationships away from the current table. And evaluating all those relationships was what was causing all the delays. So we focused on this. Yeah, this is the table. So we focused on this set field, and this shows why it was so slow. So you see that there is a main table, and it goes through complex calculation. I don't know which one it was. Yeah, navigation history. So you see that from main table it goes to system, and then navigation history via quite complex relationship predicates. So the optimization that we did was actually adding more code, but it was making it faster. Instead of setting the field of relationship, we jumped to a different layout to the target navigation context and set the field via finding the right record and setting the field there and going back. And this optimization cut the time down from those 20 seconds to just less than 4. So that was much better, and that was already acceptable for the users. So we were done with our optimization, and we can say that the final results in numbers is that in average we got a 723% speed increase, which means that the solution or the navigation on the solution became 8 times faster. But Daniel didn't stop there. He was inspired by our work and continued, because that 4 seconds actually mean that the single part of the script was taking 1 second. So Daniel continued with the optimization and tried to make it even faster. And what he did is something that he doesn't always like to use. He hard-coded the choices that he was making there. So he made the navigation system even less universal. But in this case, because the solution is not going to grow significantly within probably the next 10 years, it was not a bad decision. And actually, this is the hard-coded calculation where he actually really jumps to the object by name depending on the value that he gets instead of making it universal. But that 1 second piece was cut down 1/10 of a second. So now the navigation, the total time that takes to take you to another layout takes less than a second. And when you compare that to the original 40 seconds, that's an amazing result. And here I can share Daniel's testimonial that he sent me, where he says, there are 2 major bottlenecks in this application. The information tool you gave me was absolutely essential to solving the first problem and helpful in solving the second. This has been a very worthwhile experience for us, and I wouldn't hesitate to recommend your benchmarking to anyone. So if you take his words, if you have a solution that needs optimization, I'm sure we can help you, and the help is going to be significant. We are not happy if we make your solution 10% faster. our goal is to make it significantly faster so that the impact on your users and their user experience is something that they will thank you for.